Hi friends, it's Shuba. Welcome back to my channel and another day of Bookmas. I cannot believe that the end is here. Every single month that I've created a TBR video where I talk about the books that I plan on reading for the following month, I am just shocked by how quickly this year is going. It is flying by, and with that, we are already at the last month of 2024. Today, I'm going to be talking about the 10 books that I plan on reading in the month of December, 10 before the end. Now, I wouldn't say that there are certain genres that I am focusing on for the month of December. These are just going to be books that I've been wanting to read, and I want to make sure that I finish before getting into the new year. There are 2 books that are part of series that I am currently in the middle of, and the rest are different literary fiction books, fantasy books, horror. We'll get into it when I start talking about them. I hope you enjoy this video, and let me know in the comments down below what books you're planning on reading in the month of November. Let's get started. We're going to start off with books that I'm already in the middle of, or books that I am in the middle of a series. The first book being Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I read One Dark Window in the month of October. This was a buddy read with Chelsea, and I had such a blast. I loved this style of gothic fantasy. I won't talk about this second book because I don't want to spoil it. The first book is called One Dark Window, and it is about a girl named Elsbeth. She lives in this town called Blunder. It's this town that's been infected by this eerie mist, and it's taken over. If somebody is infected by this mist, then they are sent to die, essentially. They are infected with some sort of magical ability, and everyone has a different magical ability that they're infected with. But the king of Blunder believes that those who are infected should not live. Elsbeth secretly has her own type of infection, and she has a monster inside of her head. Literally, think Venom from Eddie Brock's Venom. That's what I picture in Elsbeth's mind, and how Elsbeth's monster even speaks in her mind. Anyway, she has to work with the king's nephew, I believe, someone in the king's family, to get rid of this curse and save the town of Blunder. So what that means is that she is racing against time and working with this monster inside her head to save all of Blunder and clear the mist. There's also fake dating involved in this story, which I find to be really fascinating, and it's woven really uniquely and well into the rest of the story, since this is a fantasy, a gothic fantasy, and I think it's done really well. The ending of the first book definitely left on a cliffhanger, so I'm excited to pick this book up. I believe that Chelsea hasn't started this book yet. I'm going to reach out to her and ask her if she already started reading this, because if not, we'll probably buddy read this sequel together and finish up the duology. Love the first book, can't wait to read the second one. The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings. This is the 3rd book in the Magnolia Parks universe, but this is the 2nd book following Magnolia Parks and BJ's story. How this series works is that the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th have to do with Magnolia Parks and BJ, and then the 2nd and the 4th have to do with Daisy Hates. I personally did not like Daisy Hates' story as much as I do Magnolia Parks and BJ. I did start this book, I think last month. I'm on page 159, chapter 27. I took a beat because I'm having my friend Lauren, who I met on Instagram, catch up to me so we can continue on with this story. I don't want to leave her behind. I don't want to finish this book without her. Think Gossip Girl, but also London Society. The whole series really navigates in the world of London high society, and we follow these set of characters who really just make out with each other, date each other, cause problems with each other, but they're also best friends. They have really toxic relationships with one another, and the reason why I am so immersed and fascinated with these characters is because it reminds me so much like Gossip Girl. I hate that I love it, but I also love to hate it, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but if you read this story and you've started to immerse yourself into Magnolia Park's universe, you'll probably understand. And these are just really fun to read. A lot of people are obsessed with the characters and the romance and the love, and I have to say that it's not healthy. None of the characters and the relationships with another are healthy, but I still love the drama and the aspect of that. So I'm going to continue reading the story. I hope to finish this book before the end of the year so that Lauren and I can continue on with Daisy Hates and then finish up with Magnolia Parks again. I have two books in the horror category that I would say that they're a part of. The first one being Misery by Stephen King. I watched this movie about a year ago, this time last year, and it was really good. I had never read the book. I loved the movie. I thought it was really well done, and this December, I want to pick up and read the book. This is a very well-known, popular Stephen King novel, and from what I remember watching the movie, it is about an author who gets stranded in this snowstorm and hurts himself, and this lady comes in who says she's a nurse to make sure that he recovers and takes him in. But the thing is that this author, he is a really famous, well-known author. And this girl, this lady, this woman is obsessed with his work. She forces him to finish the last book in a series in a way that she wants it, or else she's gonna kill him. So basically he's held hostage in this house with this lady that he doesn't even know. So it's really creepy and scary, and I think it's gonna be perfect for winter because hopefully it'll snow in Kansas City. It hasn't yet. It's beautiful outside today, unfortunately, and it's the last week of November. But hopefully we'll have some snow, and I think this will be a great way to end the year. I've only read one other Stephen King book, and that was Fairy Tale, and I really liked it, but I would put that more on the fantasy side of his writing, and so I want to read one of his true horrors, and this is it. Rouge by Mona Awad. This is a book that I had on my fall TBR. I know that fall technically isn't over, but we're getting there. I want to finish this book before the end of the year. I read Bunny a while back, and it was the weirdest, wildest adventure that I ever read, and I can't really decide if I like it or not. This book is about our main character. Her name is Belle. Belle is obsessed with skincare and the youthful glow. I am too, but not to this extent. She wasn't taught anything else though. Her mom was as well. Her mom mysteriously dies, and then Belle ends up meeting this old woman who somehow leads her to this cult that is attached to her mom's death. And so now Belle is on this journey to try to learn more about this cult and figure out how this cult has to do with her mother's death and why her mother died. This is supposed to be a gothic horror fairy tale retelling, and I'm honestly not sure what fairy tale this is retelling, but I am excited to find out. I love anything that has to do with skincare and beauty, and I think this is going to talk a lot about the female gaze and female desire to be youthful, and that's something that society deals with even today, especially with plastic surgery and getting Botox and all that stuff to make us look younger and more beautiful. I'm not only excited to read this horror, but also to kind of connect the commentary that's within this book with the real world. It should be good. Just kidding. I have one more horror book that I plan on reading. The Clinic by Kate Quinn. This is a story about our main character. Her name is Meg. She works at a casino in LA, but she also has a famous actress of a sister named Haley. There are rumors that Haley died at a remote rehab facility where she's been forced to go to get her addiction under control. However, there is whispers of suicide, and Megan doesn't believe this at all. She decides that the best way to find out what happens is to check it out herself. So she herself goes to this clinic to figure out what really happened to her sister, Haley. This sounds like a book that's going to be perfect for December. I think it's going to be really fast paced, and I'm not going to want to put it down. It's also giving Shutter Island vibes. I'm excited to read this one. Now we'll get into 3 books that are in the fiction category in terms of genre. Sisters by Daisy Johnson. This is a story about 2 sisters, July and September. They're thick as thieves, they're best friends. Growing up, they dealt with bullying and being more isolated from the rest of their community, but they've always had each other's backs. These 2 sisters and their moms end up moving to a isolated home to kind of build a new life, and then there is some creepy sense of dread and unease that descends within this house. The back of the cover is very vague. Meanwhile, outside, the sisters push boundaries of behavior until a series of shocking encounters test the limits of their shared experiences and forces revelations about girls' past and future. I am excited to read this book. I've heard that it's really good. My friend on Instagram, she really enjoyed reading this book, so I have high hopes since I trust her judgment. It's also 210 pages, so this should be a quick one to get through. The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. I am so excited to end the year with this book. This is a story about marriage, isolation, abandonment. As the title says, this is going to be a story about female rage and unhinged behavior. I'm sure of it. This is about our main character. I don't know her name. It doesn't say. Yes, it does. Her name is Olga. Her husband abandons her, and so she's left isolated in her apartment by herself, and I think she's going to slowly start to go crazy, and we're going to get a lot of that in this tiny book. It is 180 or so pages, so it's gonna pack a punch. I've never read Elena Ferrante's stories before, but I do know that my friends Ivana and Kat both really like her stories and writing style, and I love a book that has to do with aggression, anger, female rage, just letting your emotions go, and I can't wait to read this. Old Enough by Haley Jacobson. This is a story about a girl named Sab. She's entering her sophomore year of college. She came out as bisexual, so she's ready to be her most true and authentic self. The back of the cover says it is a novel for anyone who's lost a friend, found themselves, and survived their 20s. Old Enough is a gem. I'm not going to read the back of the cover any more than this. I kind of want to just go in feeling all of the emotions. I think that this is going to pack a lot of punch. This is a story about friendship and the queer coming of age novel that most of us never had. I think that there's going to be something that I can learn from this story and from Haley's perspective. I've also never read a story like this before, which is why I'm really interested. Taylor Tippett read this book a while back and she really liked it. I think that they're friends, Haley and Taylor, actually, so she recommended it, so I'm gonna read it. Old Enough. The last 2 books I'm gonna talk about are fantasy books. A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. This is the first book in an entire series, and I've had this book for a really, really long time. If I don't read it by the end of the year, I need to give it up. I'm saying this right here. Come January, I will be done with this book and see if I want to continue on with the series. The reason also why I picked this up is because this month, the month of November, well, while I'm filming this, it's November, but when you're watching this, it'll be December. I read The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owens. It's a debut novel, and I did not like it at all. I'll give you my thoughts when I talk about my November wrap-up, but I didn't like it at all, and it has to do with Hades, and there's some parts of Persephone in it, and I feel like I need to give Hades a second chance. I didn't like Hades in The Games Gods Play, so we're gonna read this book and hope that I like Hades, and I am intrigued enough to continue on with the Hades and Persephone retelling. It says, Persephone is the goddess of spring in title only. Since she was a little girl, the flowers have only shriveled in her touch. After moving to New Athens, she hoped to lead an unassuming life disguised as a mortal journalist. All the changes when she sits down in a nightclub to play a hand of cards with a stranger. That stranger is Hades himself. He is the god of death. He has built a gambling empire in the mortal world, and his favorite bets are rumored to be impossible. But nothing has ever intrigued him as much as the goddess offering him a bargain he can't resist. Honestly, I don't really know Hades and Persephone's tale and why they are lovers or not and how she got to the underworld. So I'm hoping that this will give me all. This next book is the last book that I plan on reading in December, and one of the options that I had added to the poll for the December book pick on my book club on Fable. I'll link the book club down below if you want to join. It is A Far Wilder Magic by Allison Saft. I've also had this book for a very, very long time, and it's time that I read it now or get rid of it in 2025. This, I believe, is a YA fantasy novel that centers around Full Metal Alchemist, and I absolutely loved that show growing up. I never finished it, and maybe I should try rewatching it so I can finish it, but I've heard that if you like Full Metal Alchemist, then you'll probably like this story. It says, when Margaret Welty spots the legendary Hala, the last living mythical creature, she knows the half-moon hunt will soon follow. Whoever is able to kill the Hala will earn fame and riches and unlock an ancient magical secret. When Margaret is the best sharpshooter in town, only teams of 2 can register, and she needs an alchemist. Weston is an alchemist. Well, not yet. He's going to be. He's been fired from every apprenticeship, so I think that Margaret and Weston are going to team up together to compete in the half-moon hunt. There's going to be love in this story. This story is centered around this atmospheric fantasy in a world that will sweep me away, or so I hope. All right, friends, these are the 10 books that I plan on reading in the month of December. These are my 10 before the end. What are you planning on reading in the month of December? Let me know in the comments down below, and please join my book club if you want to. We'll be picking a book to read together every single month. Have a great day, and I will see you in another Bookmas video. Bye!